Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Stock Market Today. My name is Ken Shreve, joined today by Justin Nielsen, looking at four straight days of gains for the major stock indexes, better than 1% gain for the NASDAQ composite. But before we get into what the stock market did today, let's throw it over to Justin because, as always, he's got three stocks to watch today.
Well, yeah, let's go ahead and take a look at Apple today because, hey, you've got a stronger market and you might as well look at one of the behemoths. We'll also take a look at Vertex in the biotech space. A lot of interesting action going on in the biotechs, and we can't leave out the oil and gas companies. We'll take a look at Williams Companies, which has a little bit more of a natural gas focus, but those are the three charts we'll go over today.
Excellent. Well, it was another day of outperformance for oil and gas stocks. And let's start by taking a look at the NASDAQ composite because that outperformed today. S&P 500 was not far behind, but the NASDAQ composite up 1.3%. Justin, this index, we had a nice retaking of the 50-day moving average on Friday, and it extended gains today.
Yeah, and so we never went into a correction with this most recent downtrend that we had, and so we kind of stayed in uptrend under pressure. But it's starting to look a lot better now. The one problem that I've had with this rally, and it's been a strong rally over the last 4 days, is that volume has come in lighter. I'd like to really have seen some stronger volume behind this move, but sometimes you don't get what you want. So now we'll have to look at some of the individual stocks to kind of gauge the strength here. But it's worth mentioning that the S&P 500, and Ken, you were mentioning this on IBD Live today, how the advancers versus the decliners have been even stronger on the S&P 500 with, I mean, sometimes a 6-to-1 ratio here. So it was another strong day in that regard. Maybe a little bit under 4-to-1 for the advancers versus the decliners, whereas it's a little less robust for the NASDAQ. So there's certainly a lot of strength here on the S&P 500 as we get back to make our way back to that 200-day line. And it's worth mentioning that if you look at RSP just as a kind of comparison here, RSP is an equal weighted because with the S&P 500 and the NASDAQ composite both being market cap weighted, sometimes it's nice to look at an equal weighted to kind of gauge the breadth. Is this something that's just being dominated by your Apples and Microsofts and your big names like that? Or is this got more broader participation? And RSP can kind of show you that. In fact, I would argue that RSP is actually looking a little bit stronger than the S&P 500 right now.
Yeah, no doubt. It's actually getting pretty close to the 200-day moving average here. When you can see when RSP hit a high of 153 several weeks ago, it got turned right away at that 200-day line. So this is going to be an issue for the market if we do stay in rally mode here. Will the indexes be able to get back above their 200-day lines? But let's just take a look and see what the Dow Jones Industrial Average did. That lagged a little bit today. Weighed down by weakness in Amgen, which was down more than 3%. They have a drug competing with Bristol Myers drug that got approved today, this plaque psoriasis treatment that showed better efficacy than Amgen's drug. So Amgen kind of a drag on the Dow, but the blue chip index at last check up 0.7% on the day. Taking a look at bond yields, this is very relevant. We've got this big inflation report tomorrow, so I'll take a wild guess. We could see some movement in that 10-year yield tomorrow after the consumer price index comes out. But bond yields look like they ended near their session highs today. They were down in pre-market trading, but kind of righted the ship and kept moving higher today.
Yeah, and so we'll see that report coming out before the market opens tomorrow. So yeah, just keep in mind that could add some volatility to the action tomorrow. But you don't necessarily want to jump on something right at the open because that volatility can cut both ways. You can have up or down from where it starts. So it might be worth just kind of letting the market settle down a little bit from the initial volatility. You find that happening during Fed meetings, when Jerome Powell is speaking, doing his conferences, press conferences and things like that. So it's certainly worth noting, though, that 10-year Treasury is continuing its robust rally that it's been doing really here since the end of July, beginning of August.
Yeah, market's still penciling in a 7. I'm not sure if it's penciling in at this point. It
It's
seems
almost a foregone conclusion,
it's almost a
right?
foregone conclusion that rates are going to go up by 75 basis points. That would be the third straight 75 basis point hike by the Fed on September 21st. And then we wait a month in November, expected to hike by 50 basis points, and then maybe another 25 in December, which would bring that Fed funds rate to a range of 3.75% to 4%. But a lot can happen between now and December. Let's first things first, we'll see what the inflation data looks like
Right.
tomorrow. Just as a heads up, month over month, consumer prices are expected to fall 0.1% from July. The headline number year over year price is expected to be up 8%. That would be lower than July's reading of 8.5%.
Yeah.
So finally,
That's just a concern real quick. If we just, talk about that. I mean, yes, a lot of people are looking at the fact that inflation may have peaked as it comes down, but 8% is still really high.
yeah, no, I mean the Fed has got some work here, so we're gonna have to see a material drop in inflation in coming months to feel confident to say that the Fed is going to pivot, but we'll see what the data show tomorrow. We mentioned oil and gas stocks outperformed by another wide margin today, and Justin, you want to take a look at the XLE, this sort of benchmark oil and gas ETF.
Yeah, and now keep in mind XLE is dominated by both ExxonMobil, XOM, and Chevron, CVX. But I want you to just kind of get the picture of this chart in your head, because if you look at a lot of oil and gas names, they have this really nice cup with handle action that we're seeing here on XLE. You're just going to see this repeated over and over in a lot of the oil and gas names. And rather than wait necessarily for a breakout up above the high of the handle like we would normally do, I think a lot of these are giving you a chance to, maybe take a look at early entries here as we break the downtrend. And since we're here, it's probably worth mentioning that there is a big difference here between the oil and the gas. We always say oil and gas, but USO is kind of representing the gas. I mean the oil part. That's the ETF representing crude oil, and that looks very different here, and much more of a downtrend than UNG, which is the natural gas, ETF that tracks the spot price of natural gas. So a lot stronger there. We got support of the 50-day moving average line for UNG, and that looks like it's kind of crossing above that downtrend line. So a little bit of a different picture depending on which area you're looking at.
Very good. Good distinction there. All right, well, let's take a look at a couple of movers, a few movers in the stock market today. Noteworthy move for Apple, no doubt about it. Really strong move above the 200-day moving average. Stock closed up near its high. Looks like there was some volume behind today's move. What do you think about Apple here?
Yeah, you know what? That's one of the things I really liked about the action today, was that there was some really good volume behind it. And you had some volume on it last week, and both of these volume days are bigger than the down days that we saw the week prior. So that's one of the things that's been bothering me about a lot of stocks. They have heavier volume on the downside and lighter volume on the upside, which is exactly the opposite of what you'd like to see, and kind of the opposite of what you'd expect, given that a lot of that downside volume happened before Labor Day, when a lot of people are on vacation and kind of cut out early, and usually the volume kind of comes back after Labor Day, whereas it hasn't really in this case. So I think Apple is showing a much better volume signature than a lot of the other stocks out there. And you can't argue against the fact that, hey, this is now crossed above both its 50-day and its 200-day moving average lines, kind of breaking this downtrend. And if you're looking at the market cap weighted indexes, Apple is a huge weight, and so that could be helping the indexes do a lot better if this can continue to move higher. And I should also mention that this is not normal for us, but we actually did put a position on this in swing trader. This might be good for a swing trade, a short-term trade here as it makes its way back up to that 176 recent high from August.
Yeah, I was reading a note from Dan Ives from Wedbush. He's one of the more popular Apple analysts, and he was just talking about demand for the iPhone 14 looks to be very, very strong. And he's saying that the wait times are actually look to be longer than the iPhone 13. So it looks like that iPhone 14 is going to be a big hit. So we'll see about that.
I think there was a big surprise there, the fact that they didn't raise the price on that, as many people expected, to have at least a $100 price raise. But the fact that they kept the price the same, I think, is enticing a lot of people to maybe make the upgrade sooner than they planned.
Yeah, most definitely. Pretty smart on Apple's part. All right, name on leaderboard we want to talk about, really high quality biotech stock with a dominant presence in the cystic fibrosis market. Vertex Pharmaceuticals, VRTX. And what do you like about this one, Justin?
Well, I think definitely people who want to kind of learn a little bit more about this company should take a look at the stock of the day. It's Vertex is the stock of the day today. A nice article written by Reinhard Krause. And one of the things that I think is really interesting about this is, I mean, Vertex has kind of gotten itself established as the cystic fibrosis leader, but they're really kind of getting into a lot of other things. And Reinhardt's story kind of talked about a little bit about this pipeline expansion that's happening. So not only do they have a partnership with CRISPR Therapeutics, that's CRSP, and of course they're known for their gene editing, some really exciting stuff that they've done with sickle cell anemia. But Vertex has a partnership with them. In fact, one of the things that led to less profits was they did have a payout for CRISPR making a milestone. But they're also getting into some of the kidney disease stuff and targeting particular gene mutations here. So I think Vertex has been one of those biotech names that has held up pretty well. Besides April and May, it's been holding mostly above its 50-day moving average line, and we just got above that 50-day moving average line again. And this is one that has been on leaderboard a number of times and actually got an increased spot in its position today.
Yeah, definitely. And I think another thing going on with Vertex is on top of this robust pipeline that they have outside of cystic fibrosis is that they have a non-opioid painkiller, which is showing great efficacy in late-stage trials. So that is also helping Vertex hold near highs as well. So, all right. Well, we can't go stock market today when energy stocks outperform without looking at an energy stock. So why don't we take a look at Williams companies, and that is WMB. This is an integrated firm, so a little bit of natural gas, a little bit of oil. They're kind of in all different parts of the energy sector.
Yeah, but definitely you see that in the description, natural gas kind of jumps out at you in that description. And so that's one of the reasons why we wanted to go with this one, because the natural gas exposure just looks a little bit stronger right now. But remember, we took a look at that, cup with handle pattern in XLE, and you can kind of see a very similar pattern here. Today, we saw it cross above a downtrend, and that's exactly the kind of action that we're looking for. And you also see that the volume signature on this is a little bit better than in a lot of other areas. You've got some really high volume on the upside. There was that one day in the middle there that had some pretty big volume on the downside, but it did get support at its 200-day moving average line on that day. But again, I'm trying to really look for this more positive signs on the volume, and it did have a steeper drop here back in May and June, which again a lot of the oil and gas names did. But I think the fact that it's kind of recovered in a tighter fashion after that big drop, now you've got kind of a smaller drop. You're making higher lows. That's something that we like to see. And so this is one that we did put on Swing Trader today, just to look for a short-term move if we can get it.
Very good. Well, lots of good setups in the oil and gas space, no doubt about it. Justin, as always, thank you very much for your insight. Just a reminder, tomorrow we'll be on IBD Live. We start about 10 minutes before the market open each day on the West Coast, about 6:20 a.m. And tomorrow, as is the case every Tuesday, we'll have David Ryan, a multiple U.S. investing championship winner, a longtime hedge fund manager with a great track record of success. So always like getting his market insight on Tuesday. So if you'd like to check out IBD Live, just go to investors.com/IBD Live and you can take it for a trial. Also wanted to let everyone know about free access week to MarketSmith. Starting today, goes all the way through Sunday. So 7 days of free, unfettered access. The charts that we were just looking at are all MarketSmith charts where you can do all your fundamental and technical research all in one place. So you can see right on the homepage here, September 12th through 18th. Try it free. One of the best charting tools around. So be sure to check it out. Free access week to MarketSmith all this week, right at the top of the homepage of investors.com. That'll do it for today. Justin and Ed will be back tomorrow for the Stock Market Today video. Until then, have a great rest of the day, and we'll see you back here tomorrow.